when the provinces of Judea and Samaria were occupied by the Hashemite kingdom of Transjordan, which abbreviated its name to Jordan in 1950. And until 1967, when Israel regained the ancient Jewish heartland of Judea and Samaria, no one, not even a single Islamic scholar or a Western politician ever demanded that there be an independent Palestinian state in the so-called West Bank. So must Israel today, must Israel trade land for peace? Should it assign Judea and Samaria to another Palestinian state, a second one next to Jordan? My friends, let me be very, very clear. The conflict in the Middle East is not a conflict of a territory, but rather an ideological battle. People are mistaken. People are so mistaken when they assume that giving up Judea and Samaria and East Jerusalem and letting the Palestinians have it will end the conflict between Israel and the Arabs. In 2005, Israel sacrificed the settlements in Gaza for the sake of peace. And I ask you, did you get any peace? On the contrary, because the conflict is essentially ideological, the situation only worsened. Because the conflict is ideological, territorial concessions are counterproductive. Ideologies cannot be confeated by concessions. They are encouraged and emboldened by it. Ideologies must be confronted with the iron will never to give in. Never, never, never in nothing, great or small, large or petty. And that is the lesson which the world learned, and with those exact words from Winston Churchill when he confronted the evil ideology of Nazism. And this conflict here in the Middle East is not about land and borders, but it's about Islamic jihadism opposing Western liberty. From the moment that Israel was founded, the Arab leaders have rejected every partition plan and every initiative for territorial settlement. And why? Why? Because the Islamic ideology simply does not accept the concept of a Jewish state. Neither Hamas or Fatah are willing to recognize the right of the Jewish people for a state of their own in their historic homeland. No, I cannot repeat it enough, no territorial concession on Israel's part can and will ever change that. Don't let anybody fool you. Ladies and gentlemen, Israel's ideological enemies want to wipe Israel out as a nation. They simply deny the Jewish state the right to exist and to live in peace, dignity and liberty. For the sake of its own survival and security, Israel needs defendable borders. A country that is only 15 kilometers wide is impossible, almost impossible to defend. And that is an extra strategic reason why Jews need to settle in Judea and Samaria. Therefore, the Jewish towns and villages in Judea and Samaria are not an impediment to peace. They are an expression of the Jewish right to exist in their own land. They are tiny outposts of freedom, defying ideological forces which deny not only Israel, but the entire West to live in peace, dignity and liberty. And let us please never forget that Islam threatens not only Israel. Islam threatens the entire world. Without Judea and Samaria, Israel cannot protect Jerusalem. And the future of the world as a symbol of freedom depends on Jerusalem. If Jerusalem falls today, Athens and Rome, Amsterdam and Paris will fall tomorrow. Thus, Jerusalem is the main front protecting our common civilization. When the flag of Israel no longer flies over the walls of the old city of Jerusalem, the West will no longer be free. However, a peaceful solution must also be found for the many Palestinians in the refugee camps in Lebanon, Gaza and elsewhere. Each year, hundreds of millions of euros and dollars are spent on the Palestinian refugees in international aid. And the financial assistance, however, did not provide the refugees a new home, a place to live, a place to live and build for a future for their children and grandchildren. But it's obvious. It's obvious where this place should be. It should be Palestine. Just as after the Second World War, the obvious place for the German refugees from the east to go was Germany. And since Jordan is Palestine, it's the duty of the Jordanian government to welcome all Palestinian refugees who voluntarily want to settle there. And until the late 1980s, Jordan's Hashemite rulers did not deny, let's not forget, they did not deny that their country was in fact Palestine. They said it on numerous occasions. In 1965, King Hussein said, and I quote, "Those organizations which seek to differentiate between Palestinians and Jordanians are traitors," end of quote. But even as late as the year 1981, King Hussein said, and I quote again, "Jordan is Palestine and Palestine is Jordan," end of quote. And in March 1971, the Palestinian National Council too stated that, and I quote, "What links Jordan to Palestine is a national bond, formed since time immemorial by history and culture. The establishment of one political entity in Transjordan and another in Palestine is illegal," end of quote. But by the late 70s, the Arab authorities began to differentiate between Jordanians and Palestinians. What was previously considered to be treason and illegal suddenly became the new propaganda line. And in March 1977, a PLO executive committee member called Zahir Moursain admitted in an interview with a Dutch newspaper called Trouw, one of the worst newspapers of the world, but still, let me quote him for once. In that newspaper, he said the following: Only for political and tactical reasons do we speak today about the existence of a Palestinian people. Since Arab national interests demand that we posit the existence of a distinct Palestinian people to oppose Zionism. For tactical reasons, Jordan, which is a sovereign state with defined borders, cannot lay claim on Haifa and Jaffa. While, as a Palestinian, he said to this Dutch newspaper, I undoubtedly can demand Haifa, Jaffa, Beersheba and Jerusalem. However, the moment we reclaim our right to all of Palestine, we will not wait even a minute to unite Palestine and Jordan. End of quote. And of course you all know and remember the year 1988 as the first Intifada raged and Jordan officially renounced any claim of sovereignty to the so-called West Bank. And in recent year, the Jordanian authorities have stripped thousands of Palestinians of their Jordanian citizenship. And they did so, and they do so for two reasons. First, because the alien Hashemite rulers fear that the Palestinians may one day take over their own country. And second, because stripping Palestinians of their Jordanian citizenship support the falsehood that Jordan is not part of Palestine, and that, consequently, the Palestinians must fight Israel if they want a place of their own. But arbitrarily reducing thousands of their citizens, Jordanian citizens, to statelessness, Jordanian authorities want to force the Palestinians to turn their aspirations towards the establishment of another Palestinian state in Judea and Samaria. And this decision to them is a great injustice committed by the Hashemite rulers of Jordan, the foreign clan which the British installed. Ladies and gentlemen, I am not naive. I am not blind to the possibility that if Jordan were to be ruled by Palestinians, this might lead to a political radicalization in Jordan. However, a continuation of the present situation will most certainly lead to radicalization. So we need a paradigm shift. If we keep thinking along the same lines as we have done so far, it's sure and it's evident that no peaceful solution of the Palestinian problem is possible without endangering the existence of Israel. Resettling millions of Palestinians in these small provinces, Judea and Samaria, is simply impossible and should never happen. And to the skeptics of the concept that Jordan is Palestine, I say, what is your alternative? Leaving the present situation as it is? No, my friends. The world finally must recognize that there has been an independent Palestinian state since the year 1946, and the name is the Kingdom of Jordan. Allowing all Palestinians to voluntarily settle in Jordan is a better way towards peace than the current so-called two-states approach, in reality a three-stage approach, propagated by the United Nations, the United States administration, and so many other governing elites all over the world. We only want, of course, we all only want a democratic, non-violent solution for the Palestinian problem. But this requires that the Palestinian people should be given the right to voluntarily settle in Jordan and freely elect their own government in Amman. And if the present king, if the present Hashemite king is still as popular as today, of course he can remain in power, but that is not up to me, but up to the people of Palestine to decide in real democratic elections. So my friends, I am advocating here a totally new approach. Let us acknowledge that Jordan is Palestine. And to the Western world where we all belong to, I say, let us stand with Israel, because the Jews have no other state, while the Palestinians already have Jordan. Let us stand with Israel, because the history of our civilization began here, in this land, the homeland of the Jews. Let us stand with Israel, because the Jewish state needs defendable borders to secure its own survival. Let us stand with Israel, because it's the front line in the battle for the survival of the West, of our Christian Judean culture, and of our freedom. And we must always and all speak the truth. And the truth is that Jordan is Palestine. The truth is that Samaria and Judea are part of Israel. The truth is that Jerusalem may never fall. The truth is that Israel is the only democracy in this region of darkness and tyranny. The truth is that Israel is the linchpin of the rest. And of course, I am just a foreign guest, and I should be modest. I saved this to the end of my speech. But still, Israel